5 shit comics. Hi, I'm Markus Pattern. According to this talented and marvelous artist whose artwork is so pretty and great it makes me want to fucking die, everyone has 5 shit comics in them. So you best make them really short so you can kind of get them out the way. This is probably the best advice I've ever heard. I don't know if you know or if you've been paying attention, but I keep referring to myself as a comic book artist. Yep, you only see me draw pin-ups and hashtag challenges. A static image does not constitute a comic, and while all drawing is good practice, it does make me a liar when I say I'm a comic book artist and you don't see me draw any comics. Well, I'm not a liar. I have in fact been drawing, comics. They just so happen to be, the shit ones that I haven't fleshed out in my system yet. These pieces of artwork will make me so grounded. Every comic book publishing company in the world would but fall at my feet, sucking the shit off the heel of my orange Adidas. Obviously, that didn't happen. Not in the least part, because I don't tend to walk through dog shit, or any kind of shit really. Pretty clean shoe, I'd say. So, that wonderful bit of advice, I didn't hear that until 2 years into feeling like shit for not publishing anything. Well, I published something that no one ended up caring about. We'll get to that. This good bit of advice, even if I came to it late, helped lift me out of this fuck that I had been weathering through. In hindsight, it was all good practice. Practice makes perfect. I found that after I started looking at these strips this way after the fact, that I saw my failings, I saw my strengths, I saw what I like to do, and I saw what might be even constitutionally referred to as my style. Also kind of helped show me what I enjoy doing. You're going to see an awful lot of extreme close-ups on things. The 5 shit comics that I had to jettison out of my system. Provided I'm editing this correctly, they should start appearing here. I should probably clarify something as well. Like this, I've been creating comics for a while, but I've swapped medium recently. It's a piss poor craftsman who blames his tools, but I'm a piss poor craftsman, so I'm blaming my tools. Everything has a learning curve. Right, so first one is the joke. I came up with this a few years back when I was using traditional pen and paper. I was originally going to submit this idea for anthology that was all about LGBTQ plus roller derby girls. Obviously, I missed the deadline for it, otherwise this would be failed published things, but it's just, I didn't even get that far. A couple of things. First, I originally drew this traditionally, like with pen and paper. For some reason, when I go over bits of artwork from then, now in using my digital method, it just don't fit right. It don't sit right. Maybe it's because my skills have gotten better or whatever, but either way, it don't sit right. So I probably should stop doing that. We will learn through the video that I haven't learned that lesson, but we'll get to it soon enough. So I guess lesson 1 is pay attention to the medium that you're using. Also, I should point out this is not my normal style. This is has more of a Scott Pilgrim, the guy who drew Robin's Blood Year vibe to it, and it's just something that didn't really click with me. I was also using the Wacom Intuos and Photoshop, which again, not to blame one's tools, but just didn't sit right with me. I kind of hit a wall with it, and I just could never overcome it. Number 2, Supergirl. So the one thing I keep hearing when asked about getting picked up and published and stuff is that no one gives a flying fuck about your original characters. They only want to see the current intellectual properties that are out there, so they can see if you can actually draw them and how good you are at drawing these things. Like, if you need to draw Wolverine, you need to be seen to be able to draw Wolverine, no matter how good your original character is, because they don't have the basis for comparison. So I wrote a short 4-piece script for Supergirl in which she battles a giant space Pegasus and then recounts the tale in a sci-fi bar, bragging about her achievements. This was the last Wacom Photoshop combination I did before I jumped over to the XP Pen and Clip Studio. You know what? Considering I don't think this one came out that bad. looking at it now, I'm not dissatisfied with this. I think the second lesson we should take from this is character wraparounds. Like doing a character wraparound in Photoshop is just fucking tedious. I don't know about that program, but like doing anything with like lines or whatnot, it's just like it just doesn't work. I find Clip Studio Paint and SKETCHBOOK Pro much easier to do character turnarounds in. So I guess that's doing the necessary prep work would be the lesson to take from that. This is also the first and only original, not done traditionally comic that I had done. So I think maybe the next issues I had in the comics were the fact that they were all retreads of traditional work, which, as I said, didn't fucking do me any favours, and I shouldn't have fucking done it. Folklore. I've drawn the folklore script both traditionally with the Wacom and Intuos, and also with the XP pen and Clip Studio Paint. I think one of the major flaws here is for some reason pointy ears, like cat ears, raccoon ears, I just can't get them down right. They don't sit right with me. I'm gonna have to practice them a lot more. I also can't draw trees or flowers or any kind of vegetation, so what better thing to draw than a comic setting? All of that noise. I think the major stumbling point of this was the lack of focus, experimenting on the page, doing not enough prep work, but then I reassigned the narrator, and instead of doing the job properly, I half-assed it and got to the point where I knew that what I was doing was wrong in terms of facial proportions and stuff. I wasn't quite good enough to be like, hey, this is what a face looks like. It was like, hey, this is what I'm drawing anyway, irregardless of whether it's proportionally correct and the character suffered for it. And then I started experimenting with paintbrushes actually on the canvas instead of like doing it in a side file to nail that stuff down. And then, as you can see, I transferred from like traditional comic book page layout and I transferred over to like a webtoon page layout, and then I started redrawing pages on that as well. Basically, I was circling around and around and around, and I was lacking any sort of clear focus on the actual comic, and I think I got lost in the weeds. But it's not a complete fuck up. I learned a bit more dynamic composing and stuff. Like I think the action beats in this are pretty good. Ones on the webtoons, Rigspun is expressive and stuff. So it wasn't a complete fuck up. It was just also a case of like I'm quite slow when it comes to making artwork, and I think I had spent too long on this and basically couldn't see the forest for the trees. Again, I got lost in the weeds, which is a shame. It would have been nice to have this completed, but better to cut one's losses with the lessons one has learned than to continue fucking it up, basically. That'd be the third lesson, not to get lost and have a clear focus and focus, basically. Right, it came from above, then it came in waves. Again, another retread, and this is the third time I've tried doing this, but I figured a comic in which there's 4 chapters, 4 pages a piece would be a good thing to kind of blow all the dust through and get on with it, and I'd have something to show for my time. I don't. And I think one of the major issues was I'm not a colorist, and I can't letter for shit, and I tried to do both of them in this comic. The lettering is just terrible, but the colouring, I was aping Matt Hollingsworth in Hawkeye, as I will do for the rest of my time, because a fantastic book to steal from, and I didn't nail it, and the colour choices are bad, but there are some good bits in it, like, it's not a constant clusterfuck. Like the opening panel is one of my favourite things I think I've ever drawn. That like kind of big kind of tower block thing, I think that's imposing. When we meet Everly, I think that's a really good kind of character beats. Chapter 2, I got some better beats down as well. There's definite improvement, and I think I got the I think the line work for the most part, like 75% of it, is good. So it was pretty decent. Some of it's pretty stiff and terrible, but it's not atrocious. And it also taught me another good lesson. Lesson 4 would be to drop shit that I just don't need and don't sit right. Like the character Sedina was originally called Xander, and Xander was a bald fat white man. I can't draw them for shit. But a middle-aged black lesbian, I can do them all day. So that's what it also taught me, is like what is to drop shit that isn't working and kind of drop it quickly. Like the 5th shit comic is this is a story idea that I've had for a while, and I really like it, and if I could only but execute it, I'd be quite happy. And I think the problem I had with this one was, again, the lack of focus. re-going over old work and not polishing up my prep work enough and getting a sloppy workspace and too many layers and stuff, and essentially the culmination of all my bad habits from the previous 4 comics were kind of exemplified in this one. But it came out alright, I think, for what is essentially a dialogue heavy comic. I got a bunch of dynamic poses and stuff. It moves along clip. It's not just shot, reverse shot, reverse shot, reverse shot. I tried to basically, I think I've made this what could have been quite a straightforward, easy, boring comic. I made it into something a bit more interesting, and I'm quite happy with it. I think though my major issue is the fact that like I decided to both letter, which better in this one than it is in It Came From Above and It Came Away, and I was like, do I color this? Do I do it black and white? Because I think the major thing is like I'm not really rendering these things to a finished degree. Like line artwork, I'm kind of okay with, but then I'm not really adding shadows and shit like that. So like I tried something with it. I initially tried it in color. I didn't like that, and then I tried going. Then I did this thing where it's like black and white with red shadow, which gives it a different kind of feel. But like I spent too long working on this. There does come a point when addition becomes subtraction. Perfection is the enemy of completion. And I think I wasn't going to get any further with this comic, especially if I wanted to do other things. I think, you again get lost in the weeds. And then that's when I watched the video that had a bit of advice. That's at the beginning part of this video. So now we have the Harpy comic, the thing I've been working on that's taken me a lot less time, and it is the first 100% original, non-redone comic that I've attempted in this. And basically all the issues that I had with everything above, I've learned from and I've streamlined. I've got proper character turnarounds. The advice about the shit by the 5 shit comics Skinematic system was rattling around in my noggin at this point, and I managed to flush all my bad, worse habits out of this. And I was aiming for speed with this, and I think I achieved it. I'm only a little behind my initial self-imposed deadline, and I got it finished. There are 4 pages. And they are finished. Well, the line work is finished at least. And you know what? I'm actually pretty proud of these pages. I would say that page 3 is the best page I've ever drawn. So far, at least. Yeah, I'd say that. I'd go with that. A minor achievement, but a minor victory is still a victory. But what to do, like, now? I know that if I was to set out and try and colour this piece, it would double up my workload. And I'm not too sure what I would add to it that would also be a subtraction from it, because, like, it's not my forte, colouring, as we've established. So what do? I think I'm going to leave it as it is. A finished piece. I finished something. For those of you keeping count, that would be 6. I've done 6 short 4-page comics in this video, but I don't think this one is shit. I think this one's actually quite good. So I've broken my back. That's not the correct phrase. For those of you keeping count, that's 6. 6 comics. Except this one's actually pretty good, so this should be my first good comic, Except for, no. Marcus, no. Believe in yourself. So, what to do now? These videos take about 2 weeks to come out. In 2 weeks I can complete another short comic. I reckon. I could maybe tie it in with my social media presence. Seems like a thing to do, maybe. Yeah, let's do that. But what? I do have another old script that I've been working on, a short one. I could revisit that, or I could create something completely new from scratch. Flip a coin. Heads, it's something new. Tails, it's something old. Let's try that again. Heads. Something new then. Something new. Okay, well that answers that question. So if you want to see the process I'm taking, head over to my Instagram account, keep an eye out on the stories, or go over to my Twitter account and see it there. If you want to see these images, these 5 shit comics plus the 1 good comic if you want to look at them properly without them having to pause a YouTube video, I will post them up on my DeviantArt account, because I'm that old. I have a DeviantArt account, and you can see them properly there for full display. The links in below. I hope this video has been interesting to you. I hope it's not been too long and rambly. If you click like and subscribe. Head over to my my social media linkages, which is down below. I have an Etsy account, I have a Redbubble account, and I have a Patreon account. if you want to support me financially in any way, shape or form. I hope you have a lovely day. If you don't, well, fuck it. It's not my fault. I came up with this idea a few years back when I was using traditional